Hey everybody, I'm Corbin Hosler. This is a magic puzzle, and welcome to me trying to solve it. So, this is courtesy of the MTG Puzzle Project. They shared this with me. These are a really cool thing they're doing. You can find them on Facebook at MTG Puzzles, they're on Twitter at MTG Puzzles, and same on Reddit. So, the cool thing with this is I stumbled across one on the internet, and I was like, wow, I can win this turn. Great, that's the idea, right? And I thought I'd give it a shot. So they reached out to me and gave me one to try, one to record here and see how it goes. So the goal of this is to win this turn. So as you can see, we have the board here. There's a lot going on now. Let me kind of break it down for you. Our opponent is at 10 life, as you can see over here, okay? We don't have anything on the top card of our deck that's relevant. We have this board. Our board is a Sigarda's Aid, which means we can cast equipment and aura spells as though they had flash. And when an equipment enters the battlefield under our control, we can equip it at instant speed. We have a Karizev Skyship Raider with first strike and menace. When it attacks, you make a 2/1 monkey token named Ragavan. Yeah, sorry, gotta get my monkey name straight. Ragavan, tapped and attacking. There's a Hedron Blade equipped to our Karizev that gives a +1/+1. It becomes locked, it gets Death Touch. We have a Pathmaker Initiate, which can tap to make target creature with power 2 or less unblockable this turn. With Glorybound Initiate, tap from Exerting, which is a 3/1 that can be exerted to give it +1/+3 and lifelink to make it 4/4. We have access to 5 mana, a bunch of blue mana, 2 white mana, 3 red mana. Now our hand is a Jiru's Resolve, which we can cycle for 2 mana, and note we do have a plains on top of our deck. We can also use it to untap a creature and prevent all the damage you be dealt with this turn. We have Disperse to bounce a creature or a permanent. We have an Invocation of Saint Traff, which turns a creature into a Geist of Saint Traff, meaning that when it attacks, it will create a 4/4 flying attack. We have a Truth-Based Censor. It's +1/+1 vigilance, and as long as the equipped creature is a human, it gets an additional +1/+0. And we have a Consuming Fervor that gives a creature +3/+3 for 1 mana, and at the beginning of upkeep, it gets a -1 counter. Now, we can equip these 3 things at the end here at instant speed thanks to Sigarda's Aid. Now, our opponent at 10 life, who we're trying to beat this turn, has Labyrinth Guardian ×2 and a Shimmer Scale Drake. So the Shimmer Scale Drake is just a 3/4 flyer at this point of the game. The Labyrinth Guardian is a 2/3 with the Embalm ability, but also when it becomes a target of a spell, sacrifice it. So the goal is to win this turn. Do you think you can do it? I thought I could, and I then stared at this puzzle for a very, very long time. So if you want to give it a shot, now's your chance. Go ahead and pause the video, and then I'll talk through it, and you can pick it back up once you think you figured it out. So, I assume you paused your video, you figured it out probably way faster than I did. It took me a long time. But now let's go back and work through it. So looking at the board, what I wanted to do here is sort of figure out. The Pathmaker Initiate was the first place I started, because with the ability to make something unblockable, that's certainly the easiest way to get damage in. So you look at it, and right now all it can target is our Karizev Skyship Raider. Okay, so let's say we make Karizev unblockable. We swing in right now for 2 damage. At instant speed, we could equip the Truth-Based Censor and the Consuming Fervor, which would give it a total of +5/+0. Unfortunately, that only gives us 7 damage because they can block the monkey token. Okay, so we know the simplest solution is not there. Next is trying to figure out, guys, the Invocation of Saint Traff. So if we were to spend 3 mana and put that on Karizev and make Karizev unblockable, and then disperse the Shimmer Scale Drake, now it looks like we've got something going. Okay, we can attack in for 2 that cannot be dealt with from the Karizev. It's going to put a 4/4 flyer into the air that also cannot be dealt with. So we're getting in for 6. Unfortunately, our monkey gets blocked and we don't kill him. Okay, so that doesn't work. Next thing is we look at Jiru's Resolve, because obviously I want access to this Glorybound Initiate. So if I can untap it, which I can for just a single mana, then I can get in for 4 damage, I can exert it, and now we have a lot going on. So what I did here is, if I figure 1 mana to untap the Glorybound Initiate, I can then pay 2 mana to disperse, say, the Shimmer Scale Drake. And then I can attack with my creatures and exert this. and if they have 2 blockers at this point, and if they say they block the Glory Bound, which is the biggest, and everything else is 2 power, that means we're getting in for 4, and I would have 2 mana open, which means I can put this on here or the Fervor. But unfortunately, that again only gets me to 7 damage because I would get through 2 power creatures and then put a Fervor on 1 to make 7, and that's not enough. So the next thing I started doing is looking at this ability of when Labyrinth Guardians becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. So one of the things about the spells on our hand is they can target a bunch of different stuff. So Jiru's Resolve can target a Labyrinth Guardian and make it get sacrificed. Consuming Fervor can target one. Disperse can target the Shimmerscale Drake, and we get rid of their entire board. Then again, we only get in for 6 damage. Now we could change that up slightly. We could disperse one of them, Fervor the other, untap our Glory Bound Initiate, and get in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with the token. However, this line leaves them with a blocker, and we wouldn't be able to kill them. Okay, so trying to figure out then why is this Sigarda's 8 on the battlefield? This probably has to be relevant to the puzzle, right? So I start looking at, okay, well, if I can maybe untap something and then play the Invocation of Saint Traff. Well, now I'm swinging with 3 creatures, one of which has minutes, and I'm getting something through, and I can equip the Consuming Fervor at instant speed. Again, that line doesn't add up to lethal either. So one of the things I knew I needed to do was take advantage of equipping at instant speed, whether that's with the Truth Face Sensor or the Consuming Fervor. The Invocation of Saint Traff obviously would have to be done pre-combat. So those are a lot of the lines I took, and there's obviously a bunch of different ways because these Labyrinth Guardians make you think, oh, I can just get rid of them, and it's so tempting to just disperse the Shimmerscale Drake, obviously, right? Because then you get in with the flyer, and it's sort of the easiest, the most straightforward solution is just screaming at you. So I looked at every permutation of this board. I tried the Truth Face Sensor. I tried dispersing their creatures. I figured out everything I could catch Jiru's Resolve on, and that was the line that eventually got me to the correct answer, which is very convoluted, but here it comes. So last chance to go ahead and pause the video. If you do not have the solution yourself, you now have seen a lot of lines that did not work for me, but go ahead and one last chance to pause if you want to figure it out. All right, here comes the solution. And it was figuring out all the different ways to cast Jiru's Resolve that allowed me to come up with this answer. So, what we do is we use Pathbreaker Initiate to target our Kari Zev Skyship Raider, make it unblockable. We attack with Kari Zev Skyship Raider. Before blockers are declared, we get a 2/1 Ragavan. Okay, we cast Jiru's Resolve on our Pathmaker Initiate, making Ragavan unblockable. Okay, so now we have 2 unblockable creatures. Remember that we can equip things at instant speed. So we cast Consuming Fervor on Kari Zev. That means that Kari Zev gets in for 5 damage during first strike damage, which is the key. And while I was figuring this line out, that it took a minute to sort of process the first strike damage as being what really made the difference here. Okay, so now we've gotten in for 5 damage with the Kari Zev Skyship Raider with first strike damage, and we have an unblockable 2/1 Ragavan, and we need to come up with 3 more damage. So unfortunately, Truth Face Sensor here, we have 3 mana left to work with this point. Truth Face Sensor is not enough. But what we can do, remember, Disperse, although it almost always bounces creatures, doesn't just bounce creatures. So the next step is use Disperse, bounce Consuming Fervor back to your hand. At this point, we've used 4 mana, 1 for the Resolve, 1 for the Fervor, 1 and 2 for the Disperse. We have 1 mana left, and we cast Consuming Fervor on the Ragavan token, making it a 5/4, just in time for regular damage to deal 5 more, 10 damage lethal to our opponent. 5 from Kari Zev in first strike damage, 5 from an unblockable 2/1 Ragavan that started as a 2/1, ends as a 5/4 unblockable Ragavan to get in there and do 10 damage. So They're not lying when they said the difficulty of this one is mythic, because I stared at this thing for way longer than I'd like to admit before I figured out that, hey, we could just bounce our own thing here, and oh, First Strike is actually a pretty relevant ability. So that's the puzzle. I'm Corbin Hosler. You can find my content every Monday on TCG Player. I do Mining Modern, a bunch of different modern videos of some really fun decks. I do the Brainstorm Brewery podcast, and I do event coverage for Wizards of the Coast. So that's where you can find me. You can find more Possibility Storm at MTG Puzzles on Facebook and Twitter and Reddit as well. So there's a lot going on. They have a Patreon, and that's how they come up with some of these awesome puzzles. So this was really fun. This one stumped me for a long time. We got there in the end. They have all level of difficulty. So this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this. This is, as a Magic player, you just love to solve puzzles, right? That's why we play. So it was really enjoyable when you have something like this that the answer is pretty far out there, but you know what? It is something you can get to, and that's the kind of thing that makes you a better Magic player, is to see these ones. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. I'm Corbin Hosler, and I'll see you next time.